All right, everyone, welcome back for another deep dive. Today we're going to be tackling something that's pretty relevant to a lot of people out there.
Yeah.
Dating apps.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's safe to say that pretty much everyone, at this point, either knows somebody who's tried a dating app or has tried one themselves. I mean, it's become such a ubiquitous part of
Right.
modern dating culture.
Right.
But the thing is with dating apps, there are so many stories out there. And we actually have a bunch of sources here that talk about some of the most hilarious and sometimes cringeworthy dating app fails.
Yeah.
But what I think is really interesting is that these sources actually go beyond just the fails. And they offer a really interesting perspective on how to actually find love in this crazy digital dating landscape. So if you've ever braved the world of swiping left and right,
Yeah.
get ready to laugh and maybe learn a thing or two
Yeah.
about how to navigate this whole thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And what struck me when I was looking at all this material is just how often things go wrong.
Oh,
And not just in a small way, but like spectacularly wrong.
right.
It's almost like a comedy of errors out there.
Exactly. And I think one of the most common and maybe most frustrating experiences has got to be ghosting.
Oh, yeah. Ghosting is like the ultimate digital diss.
Right. It's like, what happened? Did I say something wrong? Did they get abducted by aliens?
Right, exactly. And you're left with this like void of unanswered questions.
Yeah, and no closure. It's brutal.
And the thing is, the sources actually point out that there are a few reasons why ghosting is so common. One is, like you said, fear of confrontation. It's easier to just disappear than to have that awkward conversation.
Right.
And then there's also the whole flakiness factor. People
Yes.
are just, overcommitted, or maybe they just lose interest.
Yeah, or maybe they met someone else
Yeah.
and they just decided to not even bother saying anything.
And then there's this other aspect that I found really interesting, this idea that the sheer volume of choices on dating apps can actually make us less invested in any one person.
Oh, that's true.
It's almost like we're swiping through products rather
Yeah.
than connecting with individuals.
Yeah, it's like this weird paradox of choice thing,
Yeah.
where the more options we have,
Right.
the less we value each individual option.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've talked about ghosting, but what about the other end of the spectrum? Those people who are maybe a little too eager,
Oh, yeah.
a little too intense right from the start.
Mhm.
Those cringeworthy opening messages.
Oh, my gosh. The opening lines. I've seen some real doozies.
Oh, I bet you have. I mean, I've seen some pretty bad ones myself.
Like, what kind of stuff have you seen?
Oh, like the classic cheesy pickup lines. The ones that they probably used in high school.
Right, like, hey, girl, are you a parking ticket? Because you got fine written all over you?
Oh, gosh.
I mean, come on.
It's painful. But honestly, sometimes I think it's almost better to just be straightforward,
Right.
Skip the cheesy lines and just say something like, hey, I really enjoyed reading your profile. I think we have a lot in common. Would you be interested in chatting sometime?
Yeah, I think authenticity is key. Because at the end of the day, you want to attract someone who's genuinely interested in you.
Right. Not someone who's just responding
Yeah.
to a cheesy pickup line.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've talked about the awkward opening messages, but then there's the whole other beast of bad dates.
Ah, the bad dates.
I mean, everyone's got a bad date story, I feel like.
Oh, yeah, everybody's got at least one.
Right.
But you know what I've come to realize? Bad dates are actually a goldmine
Oh, how so?
for stories.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, think about it. Some of the funniest, most memorable experiences
Right.
come from those dates that just went completely off the rails.
Exactly. And they make for great party stories.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've covered some of the lighter aspects of dating app fails,
Yeah.
but now I think it's important to talk about something a bit more serious. Toxic behavior.
Yeah, absolutely.
The sources we have here really emphasize the importance of recognizing red flags and setting boundaries on dating apps.
Right. And it's about prioritizing your safety and well-being above all else.
Exactly. And I think one of the biggest red flags is when someone tries to rush the relationship. They're pushing for too much too soon.
Like moving things offline way too quickly.
Exactly.
Or getting overly intense and possessive.
Yes. And another red flag is inconsistent behavior. When someone's hot and cold, one minute they're super interested, the next minute they're distant and withdrawn.
And that can be a sign of them juggling multiple people.
Right.
Or just not being fully invested.
Right. And I think it's important to remember that we have the power to block unmatch
Hmm.
and walk away from any situation that feels unsafe or uncomfortable.
Absolutely, you don't owe anyone your time or attention, especially if they're not respecting your boundaries.
Exactly.
So if you're feeling pressured or uncomfortable, trust your gut and get out of there.
Yes, trust your instincts.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've talked about a lot of the challenges of dating apps,
Yeah.
but I think it's important to end on a positive note because despite all the potential pitfalls, dating apps can and do lead to successful relationships. The sources we have here actually share some really heartwarming stories of couples who met online and are now happily married.
It's a good reminder that it's not all doom and gloom out there. You can find real, genuine connection through dating apps.
Exactly. So to all those out there braving the digital dating world, don't give up hope. Keep swiping, keep laughing, and most importantly, keep an open mind.
And hey, if you're enjoying this deep dive, don't forget to share it with your friends who might need a little guidance in the dating app wilderness.
Exactly. And who knows, maybe you'll help them find their happily ever after. Thanks for listening.